Hello and welcome back to part 5 of the Online Audience Engagement Journey webinar series. In this episode we're going to be looking at desire, and quite frankly, since desire is such a strong emotion, who am I to hold back and waste your time with a lengthy preamble? So let's get straight into this one and start talking about the desire phase. This is what I refer to as the next critical stage for social media, because this is another stage, like credibility that came before, where I think social and digital media has a really, really key role to play in what you're trying to do with your marketing and engagement activities. So we've kind of got them at this stage, or at least we're getting to the point where we've got them. They now see you as a credible organisation. They now know that you have something to offer to them. So the kind of the functional side of what they need and knowing that you might meet their needs is now in place. So now what we want them to do is to actually take that and to think about how you're different from some of the other organisations that they might be looking at, and to now really make sure that you stand out, so that they now get to the stage where they actually want to study at your university or college, or they want to send their child there, that they really, really feel bought into you, and they really, really want to become part of your community. So at this stage, they might start to do things like liking your Facebook page, and they may carry on doing even more things like asking questions online. Now, one of the things that we see quite regularly at this stage, and these are extremely easy to find, are people beginning to ask questions on Facebook pages. So here's one that I found a little while ago. These are so easy to find. Many university Facebook pages will have them. So this person now perceives you as a credible organisation. Sometimes we see these kind of questions earlier in the audience engagement journey, but often they're mostly happening around the desire stage. So they see you as a credible organisation and they're just starting to ask some questions. So in this case, this person has already got a conditional offer at a university, but now they want to find out a little bit more. You have to remember at this stage, although they may have put an application in, the decision to go there is still not necessarily made. So we're still on that journey with them at this stage. We want them to become a student, we want them to stay on at your university as well. But when they ask questions in a space like this, we quite often see these kind of responses. They've come into this space, they've asked a question, they see you as the university in your Facebook page. What they don't see is your internal structures, the way in which you organise yourself differently. And this is so typical. They've been given a response that's from a nameless, faceless account, and they're being told to email a nameless, faceless email address, admissions at whatever university this might be. Generally, it's better to answer these kind of questions as much as possible within the Facebook page. It means that other people can see the answer, so if they have the same question, you only are then answering that question once rather than answering it, say, 10 times through the email account. But it also shows that you do actually care, that the person managing this Facebook page does care about this student. Whereas this to me says, this isn't in our job description, you need to email my colleague who's in a different department. They don't care about that, they don't care about your structure, so be really aware of that at this stage when people do start to engage with you and ask you questions. The other thing that you might find they start to do is they might start to talk about you on Twitter, if they're not already. They may have had some conversations about you. They may have more likely in the early stages had conversations about the fact that they were looking for a school or looking to apply to university and beginning to think of their options. But at this stage, the desire stage, they might start specifically talking about you. So here, for example, is a student who has been for an interview at University of Glasgow. So he's starting to talk about Glasgow University. Again, went for that interview, but hasn't yet actually become a student. So they're still on this journey and it's still really important. And Twitter's such a powerful tool at this stage for you, because this is where you can really start to develop deeper relationships with those people and show that you are different from some of the others because you're willing to listen to them, to engage with them, to answer their questions. And Twitter Lists is a really, really powerful tool in doing this. So this is a very, very brief list, for example, that I started to put together for a client organisation who are looking at watching students online. So this is a list of students that have shown an interest in a particular organisation. And on the left-hand side, with my list of my lists, so to speak, you can see that there are also lists there that we've created created of parents of prospective students, or teachers who are sending, teaching the students who might be going to university, careers advisors who are key influencers. So again, these are other key influencers that might be actually reaching out to these students as well. And just having a list on Twitter once you've identified those people, and just monitoring that list and just knowing what they're doing, understanding what's making them tick, being on hand and ready to respond to things that they might say or questions that they might ask when they don't necessarily tweet you directly, but you might be able to help them with something. That can really, really help. When we're in this desire stage, it can just help to give you the edge with that relationship building. So what else are they doing? Well, they're certainly going to carry on talking to others, and again, you can be listening out to those conversations, not just on Twitter as we've just looked at, but in other spaces. They might have a Tumblr account, they might be on Facebook, you might be able to see them, they might be in the student room again, different places like that where they will carry on finding out more about your organisation. And they're certainly at this stage going to want some key information from you, so making sure that your website is very, very easy to navigate and that the information is easy to find, and potentially easy for them to bookmark, is really quite important at this stage as well. And they need reassurance. They might know that you're a credible organisation, they know you're a great organisation, but do they know that they're going to be a good part and a good fit for that organisation as well? And they might at this stage want to start feeling like they're part of your community as well. Now, I love the role that student blogs have to play in this. They really, really help with revealing authenticity of an organisation, giving a really kind of real insight, so long as they're not written like a shiny marketing piece. But they also help to reveal what real life is like within that organisation, so that students that do have some degree of nerves as to what it actually might be like there can hopefully relate to a student that they see on a blog post. And it can also help to start making them feel like they are part of that community. And I love these examples. Imperial student bloggers have been around for a few years now, and they're great. I think it's very easy to have a perception of a university college like Imperial, that it's going to be all work and no play if you go to an organisation like that. And what the student bloggers really, really do here is just really show what actual life is like there, and it's not just all about the work, but it's about all the other things they get up to in their social life and things that are worrying them, and it just helps people to connect with them and feel more reassured about life there and what it's like to be part of that community. And the other example that I love, and I have a slight bias for loving this one because I worked on the strategy for Maastricht University that ended up developing this, but I do love what they've done with that strategy, where they've created their own microsite, which is for Maastricht students, so it's maastricht-students.com. And here again they have student bloggers, and you can just really get an insight into what it's like to be a student at Maastricht University, but particularly looking at an international audience in this respect, and having bloggers who are international students that have gone and studied in the Netherlands, where of course Dutch isn't their first language, and finding out what it's like to be there and be part of that community. So those are some of the key things to think about this stage, but as with all the other stages, I can't stress this enough to you. What do you want them to think, feel and do at this stage, and how are you actually going to achieve that, and then how are you going to measure that? How are you then going to go on and measure that they do actually go and move on to the next stage? So the next stage in this process is action. This is when they actually do what we want them to do as a consequence of that. Now, this journey is going to be different depending on where you think your end point is. So your action point might be just them making an application, or your action might be them accepting an offer, or the action might be them actually arriving at your institution. It could be any one of these things, and of course this journey is going to vary depending on what you set that point to be. But now we've got them, they desire to become part of our organisation, now we actually need to make them do something. And we'll come on to talk about that in episode 5. Thank you.